Well, good morning. Welcome to the Endless Quality Leads strategy session. We do this weekly where we share strategies where the pedal meets the road, pet strategies that work, that we could implement the day of learning it and then hone our skills. And these strategies that we're learning and some of the verbiage and the posture behind them apply to any situation. And this morning, the topic is called gapping is the main strategy we're going to talk about. Gapping as you're closing a gap. And I was to tee this up for you, one of my favorite mentors, and I just was going over this with Deb and Scott, is Fraser Brooks. Fraser is with if you want to make a note, Fraser is with a Z and Brooks has an ES at the end. I highly recommend that first of all, I wouldn't be recommending this guy if I didn't completely trust him. He's not building a team. He built a team, highly successful, and then he stepped totally generically, if you will, into being a network marketing trainer. And he works with he's one of the most current trainers in the industry, working with leaders, moving and shaking leaders across the planet. He has a YouTube channel and a podcast, and I highly recommend his material. So anyway, I was at one of his recruiting workshops and learned some strategies that were kind of a little bit of a reminder from older strategies, but then said in a new way and posture. So we're going to go there and visit these and keep the call interacting and engaging. So thanks for being here with me, Rich and Scott and Deb. And if you're watching this recording, we want to welcome you guys. So I'm going to share my screen. If one of you can unmute, let me know that my screen share is working in a moment. So let me tee this up for you guys. Okay, and can you see my screen? Okay, I see your thumbs up. Yeah, that's good. Okay, and let me get this where I can go over it with you guys. Okay, if you're taking notes, then these are some big ones. And so one of the keys as we talk about strategies is when people ask us what we do, or, we hear somebody's journey, is that we go to the place my honey was struggling. She would go on a trip or a vacation and a few pounds would creep on. She couldn't seem to keep that, she couldn't seem to keep shaking it off. And for me personally, I was struggling keeping lean muscle on. So you focus on, and that's the wellness side. What was wrong in my life before network marketing, our hands were tied. We could not go away, spend time with the grandkids or the kids or even playtime without the income just stopping. And we were limited by only so many weeks out of the year that we could still earn income while we did other things. So remember, one of the keys with any of these strategies that we talk about is get really good at going back in a place in your life where the pain point was. And then, so the story is what is that pain point, and then how you are answering in the process of answering it or have answered. So does that make sense, guys? Okay. So yeah, go to the chat if have some other comments too, guys. So remember, part of it is then, and I shared this I did a coaching call with Rich earlier this morning. And part of it was, until we discover where somebody is, what they're going through, that discovery process, until then, we have no idea what we're looking to solve. Discover what some of the challenges or problems are in another's life first. And there are some strategies where we simply just put a direct invite out there. Rich, this may be a little out of the blue, but I'm just curious, based on who you are and how you approach life, do you find yourself at a point where you would be really keen on looking at a way to generate another source of income at this point? And so that could be there's certain situations and strategies where we just put that direct invite out there without going through the whole connecting discovery process. But in a lot of cases, we want to have a short discovery process. And that discovery process can be like 5 seconds or 10 seconds. Like, hey, Rich, what do you do? And then if Rich was a construction foreman working 70 hours a week, and then I could address my solution or pain point right here tied to long hours. And if Rich said, I don't have any energy at the end of the day, I'm exhausted, then I could address, again, now we've discovered that part of its time and part of its energy. So, and you see some questions we could ask. And part of it, when we have a company that has such incredibly powerful products, sometimes we get maybe possibly a little stuck in the situation where we're always leading with or inviting people to look at our products, when in reality, there's an equally, if not more pressing right now in our society, there's an equally pressing need to talk money and income and abundance. So, and I'll share these notes with you as well in the Wellness Warrior chat. So any comments around some of those keys we just talked about? All right, so, and let me increase the font size. One more. Okay. These little notes were when we are putting our information out there, when we're on social media, sharing value with people, no matter what your core, if your core strategies, I know Rich, maybe your core strategy is getting out there face to face. That being said, it's still fairly simple to at least once a day, whatever that looks like, to post something. Could be about your experience of the day. So you definitely want to become familiar with that. And if you want, speaking about strategies, guys, this is some fun ways to lead into powerful posts that get people to stop scrolling. My goodness, I used to be constantly looking for ways to address this carb monster in my body. And it just never stopped. I was craving carbs, and I would eat a whole box of granola cereal and until something shifted. I used to be that person, I used to believe that the only way I was going to be able to travel the planet and to have a bunch of adventures was to work more hours. And when I discovered this concept of residual income, everything shifted, everything changed. I was skeptical at first because I was already using some great products. And although, because of a friend who I loved and trusted, I was open. Thank God I was, because of blank. And so when you open, your posts and topics like that, people kind of lean in to say, oh, I used to believe that collagen was just for hair, skin, and nails, until I was introduced to a type of collagen that went right to helping my joints and my flexibility and my discomfort. So, wow, I'm so thankful that happened. So, love to get some comments around the kind of hooks, if you will, leading into post. Are these helpful? And Rich, if you're out there and face-to-face strategies, every one of these works in your face-to-face conversations, obviously. So they don't just apply to social media land.
Yeah, these are all great lead-ins. Oh, did you mute Scott? Oh, I guess I can't talk because it's impossible to not hear the reverberation.
No, just take turns. Yeah, just hand signal or whatever. So who's muting?
He says he's going in the other room. Maybe that'll help.
There you go.
I think so.
Go ahead, Deb.
Yeah. These are great, Robert. They're pretty much in line with, I think, what we're learning in the Builders Academy.
Yeah.
And this is great that everything we do seems to, that all flows together.
Mhm.
How amazing is that?
Yeah, if you think about it, there's some common simple principles that don't change regarding whatever the teaching methodology is.
Yeah.
So.
And I like having this because I have these mental roadblocks when it comes to coming up with something to post. So, having these, I used to be, the lead-ins are great. Thank you.
You bet. And one of my favorite ones is I know that blank. So yeah, there's all kinds of lead-ins there. So good comments, and just a reminder for all of us, most people won't see it, whatever it is. And some people, even if we're doing those strategies where we're maybe connect on different core values, we resonate, and if they're faith-based, they're active, whatever they are, whatever we share with them, even then, the majority of the people just won't see it. So we're looking for the people kind of in that looking zone. Remember, we talked about that on Monday night. We're looking for people. There's all these beautiful people, boom. Oh, there's the people that are holding up the red umbrellas, all the other people holding up black umbrellas, it's one way of looking at it. So we're looking for the people that are kind of in that looking zone at this point. So, and just know it's a process, and we're always growing. And a while ago, an example this morning on the coaching call with Rich, he said, what do I focus on? What am I accountability? I said, the accountability is the activity itself. How many times today can you discover one or two problems, challenges people have? Number two, how many times can you share your 30-second or less story? And three is then how many people that leaned in, did you invite to take a look? You don't focus on how many you enrolled or even how many presentations, you focus on the activity. So. All right, so the main strategy that I was putting out there on this morning's call was this, the gapping. And we've already referenced this, but this is just a way to, if you want to call it, kind of putting it in the proper niche it deserves, okay? And what gapping is if you want to call it a strategy, we can, but it's basically a conversation where we're discovering where people are with any of the challenges they're having, okay? And the biz example is, I'm wondering if you could help me with a 1-question survey. And most people will say what to that? Most will say yes. So, and then if Rich said yes, then I would say something like, Rich, are you happy with where with your goals for your income this past year? And where would you prefer to be? And then, Rich, if I could help you with that gap, would you be interested? So, and the other question is, I'm wondering if you could help me with the 1-question survey again. Are you happy with where you're at with your wellness and fitness this year? Here we are coming up at the end of the year. If I'd asked you this question, Rich, 6 months ago, what would you have said? Rich, are you able to interact with me? I think you're muted, my friend. Rich, you are unmuted. You are muted, sorry.
Okay. 6 months ago, I wasn't as health conscious as I am now. I'm a lot more health conscious now, trying to get my body healed so I can do things again.
No.
6 months ago, I didn't really care. I just ate anything I wanted. I didn't worry about, I was gaining weight. I didn't think anything about it, until I started having a lot of health problems.
So if we were doing the gapping kind of strategy, if you will, and I asked you the question, the 1-question survey. So Rich, this is 6 months ago. Hey, Rich, are you happy with where you're at right now with your wellness and fitness so far this year?
No, I'm not.
Okay. And by the way, what does that look like? What would you love that to be? What 2 or 3 changes would you love to see?
Well, I'd like to be back to where I was 20 years of age and I was fit and I was working out every single day and I could hike and I could do anything I wanted. And I would like to be back to those kind of days.
Okay. Well, if I could help you with some of those goals, would you like to visit more?
Yeah, I think I would be interested in that.
Okay, fair enough. And then I would go to the next step, which is setting the time for the presentation and discovery and go from there. So the gap method's more of I would say, a verbal approach, but the gapping works in any situation and you make it your own. Like if these words don't resonate with you, then it may be like in my case, it may be something like, right here, guys, if I was talking business, my posture would be something like, hey, Rich, based on who you are, and now you're retired now, are you happy with the level of how many people you're now helping in some shape or fashion? And do you have enough of additional income coming in to do what you and your honey want to do?
Oh yeah, additional income is always good. Yeah.
Okay. And what does that look? What would be your ideal scenario? If your income would change, what would you like to see there?
I'd like to get back at least to where I was making money before I retired and having additional money where I didn't have to worry about, my bills, where I could go on vacations when I want to, and that.
Excellent. So how about we visit? Then we'd go and share information and set a time if you can. So, yeah, basically the skill set we're talking about here is developing our skill and asking questions that uncover the challenge. They uncover the gap. So the gap is where they are to where they want to be, and there's a gap here that's not that we help them possibly close the gap. That's why it's called gapping. Okay. So let me stop the share here. So I hope these little keys and tidbits have been helpful this morning.
Yeah, they have been, Robert. I'm glad you shared that. It's just a reminder of, I have ingrained a way of presenting that it hasn't been working, and it's ingrained, and I know I need to break that habit of the way I talked about what we have to offer to spark more interest and openness with people. So this makes it very easy. The way you just present it, the way you just showed that, it makes it very simple to do that.
Well, thank you. And Scott, thanks for saying that. Thanks for being real and authentic. And part of it is just, there's no way to go from here talking about it to being really comfortable with it other than just simply doing it.
Right.
And having those conversations. And I would say this, guys, if you're not doing enough different strategies to have the people to have these conversations with, then that's your other area of growth. Right now, we're simply talking about what do you do with them once you're in conversation with them. So thank you, Scott. Deb, thoughts?
I go along with what Scott said. We came from a place where we were product driven. So we have this mental state, and it's stuck there, that it seems that when we go to talk to people, instead of asking the questions, we all of a sudden blurb out oh, this, we have this great product that does this, da, 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 and immediately they shut down. But, and I'm mentally conscious that I don't want to do that when I'm in front of someone. But for some reason, I just, it's like an automatic switch that goes on and I go there. So I really need to, I don't know how to get that out of my brain.
Well, can I give you one suggestion?
You sure can.
One suggestion is this. By the way, send me a message asking for the recall this morning that I did with Rich, because we covered this in detail.
Thank you.
Is that, and I'll happily send you that 20-minute recording. Here's my coaching to you. It's something I'm working on myself, and hopefully all of us are. When people ask us what we do, the big shift is to practice having a 20-second or less answer. I think, what I do know is when any kind that comes up with what we do, or we have a solution, blah, 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 then if it's longer than 20 or 30 seconds, or even 20 seconds, we go and people were perceived as being salesy, and we're now marketing versus connecting. And so part of it is separating the invitation from the connecting from the actual invite. And then the other part is practicing having a very succinct, 20-second connector, whatever that looks like. So if we're at a Bible study together and you mentioned, my goodness, I would give anything to shed these last 15 pounds and being able to walk again with my grandkids. It's not happening. A 20-second example invite would be, Deb, in my case, my honey just shed 15 pounds and she hadn't felt or looked better in years. I was able to put some muscle on. I love how I feel. This may not be for you, but I'd love to visit with you later. Would you like to visit more about this? So part of it is to have have a very short story. And if they lean in, then we invite them to connect. If they don't even respond to it, we do not invite them. That's the big shift. Does that make sense?
It does. A lot of times people will ask me, so what do you do? And that's a hard one for me to tell them what I do without without vomiting that.
Well, here's one suggestion then for you on the business side, like the question, what do you do? Then it may sound something like this. I'm part of a community we call it Force for Good. And we're on a mission to help people believe in themselves again and to step into that next level of what wellness and energy they like. So that's what I do.
That's mind blowing. That is beautiful.
Oh, wow, that
Please
is
make
good.
sure you post this recording.
Okay. And
That is
if I,
good.
thank you. If I shared that with you with energy, which is true, I'm getting some goosebumps just by telling you what I do. If you shared that and the person ignites a little bit and leans in and say, well, what is that? Then we go to the, let's connect later. Let's a time. Then we go to the invite. If you do not respond to that type of answer, then you are telling me, without even me inviting you, that you're not in the looking zone right now. And so that's the biggest shift I would coach you to think about.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much.
You bet. You bet. Well, love and light to all three of you and anybody watching this. So love and light to you. And hopefully we'll see you on the WWW interview tonight. We're interviewing a lady who's shed she shed me. I weigh right at 160 and Anita has lost 160 pounds. So she's not carrying. Yeah. Anyway, so it's going to be a really fun interview tonight, and join us next week again for this. And this recording will be available. I'm kind of like you. That was the first time saying that answer. I'm going to use that now in my own marketing. So I love it. So it's funny how in growing, and that's how we all learn. So I love you guys. Here goes 1, 2, 3, Force for Good. So 1, 2, 3.
Force for Good.
Force for Good. See you guys.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Take care.